Tonight, in just the past few minutes, the Washington Post is reporting former RNC chairwoman Ronna McDaniel is out at NBC News as a paid contributor, less than a week after being hired there. The announcement coming after a loud chorus from NBC hosts, various talent blasting that hire. Fox News media analyst, host of Media Buzz, Howard Kurtz joins me now with the latest. Good evening, Howie.
Brett, good evening. Talk about self-inflicted wounds. It was a spectacular miscalculation by NBC, hiring the ousted RNC chairwoman, Ronna McDaniel, and triggering an on-air revolt by MSNBC's liberal host that intensified last night. Their argument, since McDaniel played a role in Donald Trump's efforts to overturn the 2020 election, it was unethical to put her on NBC's payroll for a reported $300,000 a year. But that required the MSNBC stars to publicly trash their network bosses. And nobody wanted to be left out, especially its highest paid host.
You wouldn't hire a made man like a mobster to work at a DA's office, right?
That is capitulating to an autocrat in advance by saying, yes, we will take your apparatchik and allow them to be elevated and platformed with us, with journalists.
What we've also said to election deniers is not just they can do that on our airwaves, but that they can do that as one of us, as badge-carrying employees of NBC News, as paid contributors to our sacred airwaves.
But the sacred airwaves have had McDaniel on as a guest, and MSNBC President Rashida Jones, told of the hiring in advance, did not object. At almost any other news outlet, talent castigating the brass like this would be shown the door. After McDaniel's appearance on Meet the Press, NBC executives also appeared worried about alienating the largely liberal audience. MSNBC's sacred airwaves often refuse to air Donald Trump speeches, even on primary nights. And while the channel employs prominent Republicans and ex-Republicans such as Nicole Wallace and Michael Steele, they are anti-Trump Republicans. So what damage would have been done if McDaniel occasionally voiced pro-Trump sentiments, with most of MSNBC portraying him as a danger to democracy? Insiders say the situation had become so untenable that NBC and Ronna McDaniel were destined to part company just 4 days after the network announced her hiring with great fanfare. What's clear is that NBC's credibility has taken a substantial hit on its own airwaves. Brett?
All right, Howie.
To associate myself with all my colleagues, both at MSNBC and at NBC News, who have voiced loud and principled objections to our company putting on the payroll someone who hasn't just attacked us as journalists, but someone who is part of an ongoing project to get rid of our system of government.
There's a reason why there's a lot of journalists at NBC News uncomfortable with this, because many of our professional dealings with the RNC over the last 6 years have been met with gaslighting, have been met with character assassination.
Are you saying, as the chair of the Republican Party, that you still have questions as to whether or not Joe Biden was the duly elected president?
Joe Biden's the president.
No, I didn't ask you whether he's the president.
No, I don't think that. I think
Do you
there were
think
lots of problems.
he won the election?
I think there were lots of problems with 2020.
Do you think he
won the election?
Pardon?
But ultimately, he won the election. But there were lots of problems with the 2020 election. 100%.
And that's fair.
But I don't think he won it fair. I don't. I'm not going to say that. How do we restore confidence in free and fair elections? Every one of us knows we can never let what we saw happen again, what we saw in 2020, ever again. Democrats waged war on election transparency, security, and integrity, undermining our elections, and we at the RNC are using every tool at our disposal to protect the vote. And we, of course, want to make sure that every legal vote is counted. And we have seen some discrepancies in Michigan and some irregularities that deserve investigation. Democrats and the media spent 4 years and millions of taxpayer dollars talking about a Russia hoax on the grounds of election integrity. Now, with just over 48 hours after polls have closed in an actual election for president, they want to ignore clear irregularities, rush to call states as one, and end this election. We will not stand for that.